We've had a few changes on the positions of race one. Jason Bright was actually penalised for a speed violation in pit lane. Remember, they must go 40 kilometres per hour in pit lane. Well, Bright's been pinged and he has now dropped down to 4th position. You can see a gap there as well. That is because Greg Murphy has had his race position for race one disqualified after that incident involving Jason Bargwanna. So this is the starting grid. Marcus Ambrose and Mark Scaife on the front. Todd Kelly is alone on row 2. Jason Bright moves to position number 5. David Bernard's there in 6th. Tony Longhurst in 7. Paul Radisich will start from 8. Then it's Stephen Johnson, John Bower, Glenn Seaton and Cameron McConville.
Craig Lowndes and Simon Wills, Larry Perkins and Craig Baird in the Team Brock Commodore. Neil Crompton, Russell Engel right back there in 18th. Max Wilson had some troubles too. Paul Romano will start out of 20.
Rick Kelly, the Holden Young Lions in position number 21. Dougal McDougall from Pepsi Racing 22. Ellery and Jones. We will have 30 starters for race 2. 34 laps. Garth Tander back there in position number 25, and all the way at the very back is a pretty unhappy Greg Murphy from the Kmart Racing team. He'll have to work his way through a field of 30. You're on board with Murph. The big winner out of all those chops and changes and the official rulings from race 1 is probably Todd Kelly, Greg Murphy's teammate. He was originally locked in for position number 5. He's been bumped up to position number 3. That means he collects 64 points. But the way this thing's going, that could probably change by the end of the day.
Yeah, it's really going to hurt Greg Murphy. He came into this round 2nd on points. Mark Scaife claiming the maximum 400 from Adelaide. Greg Murphy came into this one on 288. Excellent, strong finishing position, 3rd in race 1. Now that's been disallowed, and he also has to start from the back of the grid, so that's really hurt his championship chase early in the season.
Tell you what, it's pretty hard to overshadow what's already happened with Jason Bargwanna's crash right from the word go. Then you've got all the drama that unfolded. But Marcus Ambrose has managed to upstage all of these guys out of pure, sheer racing talent, and a major scrap with Mark Scaife right to the very finish. What a thrilling race 1 and first race victory ever for Marcus Ambrose. Remember, he has won a round in the V8 Supercar Championship back at Darwin last year. There's Bright and Bernard. David Bernard's had a pretty good weekend as well. The Stone Brothers Racing outfit has come to Phillip Island ready to put some points on the board. He's so cool in the cockpit. Says he enjoys the qualifying little session, the top 10 shootout, because it's one of the rare times you get to be in a V8 Supercar on the track all by your lonesome. There's a big hole there in position number 3 because Greg Murphy is now joining the tail of the field. 30 cars lining up, 34 laps to go in front of them. Hopefully we'll get a nice clean start. There's Murph on the left-hand side of your screen behind Jason Richards, who's patched up his car, the Team Kiwi car, after a shunt in race 1. The revs are starting to build. The island is about to come alive again. 150 kilometres. There'll be a fight between Ford and Holden at the front. And Jason Bright has got the jump on Marcus Ambrose. Radisich ducked up the outside as well. Bright will lead him through to turn 1. That's Scaife instead. Mark Scaife, the Championship Series winner last year, and Todd Kelly slots into 2nd position.
So Scaife got a great start there. You can see Ambrose just smoking the bags up a little bit, too much throttle. That's cost him heavily. He drops in behind Todd Kelly in the Kmart Commodore as well. So Ambrose back to 3rd. First time around, Jason Bright, good start from the Holden Racing team number 2. He got a good start as they sweep down now toward Honda Turn. 200 kilometres an hour. Hard under brakes here. Hopefully a nice clean start this time around.
Scaife leads it through. Then it was Kelly and Ambrose. Stuck on the outside of that turn is Craig Baird in the Team Brock car. Craig Lowndes in front of him in the 00 Motorsport. He finished 13th in race 1, qualified 13th. He'll be looking to make some more ground up in race 2 and collect some more vital points. At the moment, Mark Scaife charges out in front. Kelly's behind him. The 2 TWR cars have the jump on Marcus Ambrose.
It's going to be interesting to see how Ambrose's car hangs in here. He did, in fact, have a deflating front right tyre. Jimmy Stone told me in the break. That was slowing them down too, but they have made some changes to the suspension. Look at this attack under brakes. Todd Kelly leaves the door slightly open. Marcus Ambrose tries to capitalise, has to duck back in line. Now he's got Jason Bright breathing down his neck. And the first of the Shell Fords in behind him.
Jason Bright virtually appeared out of nowhere at the last stages of race 1 to all of a sudden catch both Mark Scaife and Marcus Ambrose. Told Greg Rust that it took a while for Jason Bright to work out the correct balance on the car. Once he did, he found the speed and started to mow them down through the field. So look out for Bright in race 2. At the moment, as they go past, it is Scaife, Kelly, Ambrose, Jason Bright and Paul Radisich in the top 5.
David Bernard, Tony Longhurst, Steve Johnson, John Bow up in the top 10. Cameron McConville in the top 10 as well. We go on board with Marcus Ambrose, who got jumped by Todd Kelly off the line. Did not take advantage of that pole position. He's really got to get his starts better. That's letting him down when they leave the line right up behind the Kmart Commodore. Through Honda turn, he has a slip up the inside. And he's going to be a little bit of fisticuffs here. 1, 2, 3 bumps. But Todd Kelly well positioned on the inside for Siberia. He takes that position back. Ambrose has another go. Right up alongside the B pillar of the Kmart Commodore. He goes out wide over the Rimmel strips. Up to 220 kilometres an hour. These two, Ford and Holden, door to door. 230 Ks side by side. Ambrose ducks in behind the Kmart car. And Jason Bright really starting to apply the blowtorch behind the Pertec Ford.
Up over Lukey Heights they go. This will be interesting. Down hard on the brakes. It's only a short drop, but a very steep drop. Kelly maintains his position. Ambrose is right over the back of him, and Jason Bright has joined that fight as well. They're trying to catch Mark Scaife, who's out in front at the moment. He's already on Gardner Straight. That's where these guys are going now. Holden, Ford, Holden again, and one of the Valvoline cars. That's the Ultratune car of Paul Romano and also Rodney Forbes. That's a lot of impact around the back part of this circuit.
Looks like he's stuck there, and they could bring out a safety car if they can't get those cars out of the way. And they're vulnerable. Look at this attack now by Ambrose. He goes down the inside. We go back on board. The Pertec Ford, hard under brakes up to the southern loop. Ambrose is really putting some pressure here on Todd Kelly. Sneaks up the inside between the two apexes out of the southern hairpin, and he gets him. So Ambrose takes second place and sets his sights on Scaife. Oh, pit this lap, so there could be a safety car coming out soon.
As a result, probably, of that Romano-Forbes crash, so Marcus Ambrose made his intentions very clear and very early on Todd Kelly. Picked him up at the exit of turn 2.
Hear the safety car. Well, there's the safety car out. Safety car sign, yellow flags waving. We haven't heard from race control yet that the safety car has been called out. As far as we know, it's on standby. Meanwhile, Rodney Forbes tries to limp back the damaged 00 Motorsport Ford. You can see substantial damage to the front of that car.
This is the incident between Forbes and Romano. Forbes stuck on the inside, pushes Romano out of the way. Stephen Ellery managed to escape all that trouble there, but look at the damage to the front left. The 00 Falcon.
Well, we can confirm that the safety car is coming out onto the circuit now. And this could open up to a lot of frantic pit activity. You could hear,
got him on the way back as well.
What on earth happened there?
That was Rodney Forbes trying to rejoin the race and get back to pit lane, and Paul Romano threw in a second punch just for good measure.
They've got real dramas trying to talk to Craig Lowndes at the moment. They've had 5 goes at telling him, come into the pits this time, come into the pits, pit this time, they're telling him.
There's about 15 cars in this line coming into pit lane, and you can be guaranteed that they'll definitely be going 40 k's an hour, especially Jason Bright.
Maximum pressure here, and what this is telling you is that this Dunlop tyre is delivering very consistent performance over 34 laps, so no one's trying to hang out there and get extra mileage on their first set. They're going in as soon as they can. Everyone under safety car conditions. No one wants to lose track position. And it's a real battle at the pit crews now. Maximum pressure. Every second lost here is crucial. Ambrose crew. There's some yelling and screaming going on down there. And this looks like a slow one for the Pertec team. And look at the traffic jam in pit lane. We've got a Shell Ford with its back sticking out. Marcus Ambrose has been delayed on his departure.
Well, that's why, because the Shell Ford was there. Both of the Shell Fords have come in at the same time. You had car number 18 in front of car number 17. Stephen Johnson caught with his tail hanging out. And Marcus Ambrose couldn't get around it. We were right on board with the Pertec Ford as they tried to get a clear exit out of pit lane. Glenn Seaton leaves. Craig Baird goes out. Simon Wills. Then Brad Jones, Rick Kelly joins the fight as well and slots in front of Paul Wheel, and David Bernard heads out.
Tell you what, Craig Lowndes did very well out of that stop. He's emerged behind Todd Kelly, just behind Marcus Ambrose. So by the time the other cars come in to make their compulsory stops, he should be about 4th in the order. They've been struggling with an engine misfire in Lowndes' car all weekend throughout practice, qualifying and race 1. Hopefully they've licked it for race 2. Johnson, you can see what a traffic jam it is there in pit lane when they all come in together.
Okay, away you go there, mate.
Very, very tight.
Okay, Steve, you're going to have to drive your heart out there, pal.
And Garth Tander cuts across through to turn 1.
See Murphy just sneaking the nose of the Kmart Commodore down the inside in turn 1. Pulled it out right at the last minute. Max Wilson sweeping across to take his line. And the field's back underway. So all those cars that haven't made a stop in front of this bunch, this is effectively your race leaders. Mark Scaife, car 1. He's got Ambrose up behind him. Then Lowndes. So it should be a great battle once these cars in front get out of the way.
Just take you through the state of play at the moment on those who haven't pitted. Jason Bright, John Bowe, Max Wilson, Garth Tander, Larry Perkins and Greg Murphy. The top 6, in fact, have not pitted at the moment. So Mark Scaife in position 7 on the list is in fact probably your race leader once it all settles down. And we understand word from pit lane is that Jason Bright could be in a bit more trouble.
Well, it sounds, but I was just looking at that restart and I noticed that Body was a long way back from the pace car. I mean, the way that the rules are the way the rules are written at the moment, you've got to keep 5 cars between the car in front of you, the car you're behind. You've got to stay within 5 car lengths, and that does include the safety car as well. So if you're the first car, you've got to stay that close. So that could be possibly the big reason.
That's what they're talking about. Black flag.
Another costly mistake for Jason Bright. We've got Jason Bargwanna in the commentary position with us.
So black flag being shown to our race leader, and that'll be another drive-through, I guess.
The team have just spoken to him as well. They said there's nothing we can do about it. We can't argue about it. We've just got to cop it. Come on in.
Well, 2 times visiting pit lane for Jason Bright today. That's really going to hurt him. Shown a lot of speed, but just made mistakes at the critical time.
Not like that, guys. He hasn't taken on tyres yet, too, so he's going to be a long way back after his compulsory stop. So
if you're watching at home, folks, that doesn't mean he can just jump into the pits now while he's serving his penalty and get his tyres put on. That has to be a separate stop. So Greg Murphy in the middle of this pack 2. Murphy trying to unlap himself. He will be, because when he comes into the pits, he's going to lose a lot of time if they have to come under green flag. Keep in mind, Murphy is the last of the cars in the queue yet to make his compulsory stop. The order at the moment is Bright, Bowe, Tander, Wilson, Murphy, Scaife, and this is the in-car shot from Scaife, is the first car to have made his compulsory stop. So he will be effectively a race leader once these cars in front peel off.
What about the race we've got on our hands? We'll have Scaife in front, Ambrose right behind him, and then Todd Kelly behind them as well. And joining that little queue at the front will be Craig Lowndes in the 00 Motorsport. So once these cars in front of Mark Scaife peel off and head into the pits, we're ready for another, well, full fist battle, I'd say. They just didn't stop throwing punches at each other. The speed on the screen is Mark Scaife's car.
See Jason Bright just peeling off down pit road there to serve his penalty in pit lane. So that's really going to hurt him. He hasn't even emerged through there yet. So slow is that speed, 40 kilometres. Look at this attack now by Marcus Ambrose, breathing heavily on Scaife. These cars up in front yet to make their compulsory stops. So Mark Scaife running in 5th. Marcus Ambrose in 6th. Todd Kelly in 7th. Craig Lowndes in 8th. So effectively that's 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th.
Marcus Ambrose hasn't bothered to wait until the cars in front of Mark Scaife get out of the way. He was all over the back of Scaife coming to the end of Gardner Straight there. Had a look up the inside, the outside, and then back down the inside again. So they've started their scrap already. Lap 9 of 34. 150 Ks to get through. There's a little bit of gravel on the inside of turn 4. Honda corner. You're looking out the back of Scaife's car, right up the nose of Marcus Ambrose.
Marcus Ambrose was the defender in race 1. Now he's the pursuer. Applying pressure to the back of the Holden Racing Team Commodore of Mark Scaife as they come out of Siberia, head up toward the Hayshed, 220 kilometres an hour. Dauntingly fast racetrack, Phillip Island, 4.4 kilometres. Very, very fast bitumen. The Stone Brothers team made some adjustments to the Pertec Ford in the brake to make the car a little bit more kind to the tyres over a 34-lap race distance. And Ambrose certainly seems to be matching the speed of Scaife at this stage.
It's been a tough day for the 00 Motorsport team. We understand that Craig Lowndes still has a small misfire, and Rodney Forbes, you're out of it. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, Greg, I just caught a rear brake going into 4 there, and it spat me off onto the grass. Unfortunately, Paul Romano was in the way when I sort of ended back onto the track again, and that's the resulting damage there. But yeah, it's been a really bad day for us. We had caught up in the first incident on the first race, but then Paul Romano was obviously a little upset and just absolutely drilled me when I'm limping back to the pits.
Luck, mate.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was an odd incident, that. I'm sure the stewards will be having a look at that one too. Meanwhile, back at the front, there's John Bowell, race leader. Tander in second, Wilson in third, Murphy in fourth. And look at this scrap here. Skate and Ambrose, Holden and Ford. It's been on all day. Just have a look down at the PlayStation 2 race score. That blue score with T shows the cars that have made their compulsory tyre stop.
So Larry Perkins in 9th position is yet to come in. Longhurst, Radisich and Cameron McConville all have, so too have positions 13 right down to 18, which is David Bernard. He's come in for his tyre. Paul Wheel, as we mentioned, has a brand new car here, a new paint job as well. Had a tough time of it in race 1. All the way back down to Romano, who's out. His car was pulled off the circuit onto a back of a truck, and that's the end of his race for the day. But at the moment, you're on board with Marcus Ambrose, the winner of race 1. He staged a pretty good battle. Let's have a look at this Dunlop telemetry as he comes around the very, very quick part of the circuit. This is the sweeping left-hander that takes it back up. We'll stick on board and do an entire lap if we can with Marcus Ambrose, one of the fastest circuits you'll find here. This is Gardner Straight. Take a look at the gears, right up to 5th and 6th. He's pushing up to 277 kilometres per hour, a wickedly fast turn 1. Here. Short right-hander, that's Honda corner. The sweeping left-hander, 3rd gear. That's turn 5 in Siberia. It's where you end up if you're in trouble. It gives you an idea of the incline. Listen to the way that this Pertec 4 is throwing the power down. Over Lukey Heights they go. Hard on the brakes again for MG. Sweeping turn 9 and back onto turn 10 for Gardner Straight. It's white knuckle stuff, isn't it?
Just look at the top speed here on the left of your screen. Skate just throws a wheel over the screen. Look at this, 260. 270, 280, 280 kilometres an hour. Unbelievable. 170 odd mile an hour on the old scale. Very, very fast.
And that's in the bootlet of Mark Scaife, by the way.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to think you can break that late coming into turn 1.
Oh, John Bowell, race leader. He was. He got into all sorts of trouble down at Honda turn. That gave the lead to Garth Tander. Greg Murphy ducking through there. Scaife now up behind the better electric car of Wilson. And now he's come into pit lane. Tyre change, compulsory tyre change taking place. John Bowell quite not sure whether it was driver error or mechanical. Making that very clear to the crew. Well, Brad Jones in all sorts of trouble. He's having a horror day. This new car in the Jones brothers team. It's just proving very, very difficult to set up. It's not responding the way they want it to. They've got a lot of homework to do there.
That was not a scheduled stop for John Bowell. The team were hoping to try and work that towards either the end of the window or another safety car period if one eventuated. Another driver who's yet to stop for tyres is Greg Murphy. They're also in the same boat, fingers crossed, in the Kmart Racing team for another safety car.
Yeah, there's only 4 drivers in the top 10 who are yet to pit. Tander, Murphy, Max Wilson and Larry Perkins. So still at the top of the queue, waiting for all that to unfold, will be Mark Scaife and Marcus Ambrose. They've kept their positions 4 and 5. The PlayStation 2 race score has Garth Tander on the road in front, but he's yet to pit. Murphy yet to pit, Wilson yet to pit. Scaife, Ambrose and Kelly the top 6. Lowndes, Perkins, Longhurst and Radicic in the top 10.
135.9 for our race leader Garth Tander. Murphy a 135.6.
One of the problems I see for these two guys, obviously Garth and Murph at the front of the field, if they do get another safety car period, sure, they'll be able to come into the pit lane, but they'll, because they're so at the front of the queue,
go to the back of the queue.
They'll close the end of pit lane till the entire field goes through because of their track position. So it's a hard situation to be in. Very difficult situation.
Checking out our 10 telecast calendar, AFL round 4 on 10 next Saturday afternoon. That's our afternoon game, the Magpies versus the Hawks from the MCG, and our night game should be a ripper. The rivalries continue at the SCG, Sydney versus the Kangaroos. That's AFL on 10. Make sure you check it out. Saturday is the place to be. That's where you'll see all your footy on Network 10. And don't forget, Sports Tonight will keep you updated with all the latest news, the scores and everything else. Sports Tonight coming up, the early edition after the news this afternoon. Back to race, lap 13 of 34. You're on board with the 4-time series champion, Mark Scaife. He's got Max Wilson, the Brazilian, in front of him. The Brazilian who showed in qualifying that he's certainly got the pace, but hasn't been able to turn that into race positions at race 1 and race 2, round 1 and round 2. In fact, the Scaife comes right up behind Max Wilson in the better electrical Ford along Gardner Straight. Immense speed that they're putting down here, and Max gets into a little bit of trouble. The rear.
Wilson is still racing for position. Tander. Bad sportsmanship flag for Max Wilson. So he opens the door. Scaife walks through, and Ambrose should be able to go through as well. Wilson's playing by the rules. And hard under brakes into Honda corner. Gives him a little bit of a hurry up as well. Ambrose sneaks up the inside. No! And there's been contact between the two of them.
Max Wilson caught in the middle of turn 4. And Craig Lowndes, it looks like, one of the 00 Motorsport Fords has gone crunch straight into him.
I think there's problems here for Ambrose. There's smoke pouring from the... There it is. Smoke pouring from the Pertec Falcon.
You got a tyre rubbing, mate.
Well, all sorts of trouble. It was always going to end in tears, wasn't it? Mark Scaife got ahead.
Ready for you, mate. Just to pit this lap.
Ambrose running wide. I don't think this car is working very well. He just went way offline there. Oh, look at Wilson's car.
Max Wilson, you want to get off the track quickly because it's a very nasty, sharp right-hander. He got passed by Mark Scaife going into turn 4. It's right back down to 77 kilometres per hour there, and by the time that he got locked in between Scaife and Ambrose, there was all sorts of trouble. Ambrose got caught right up behind him. By the time they'd spun around, there was too much smoke on the circuit for the other guys to see what was going on.
Well, it's a shattering for Marcus Ambrose.
Sorry about that, guys.
Max Wilson hasn't made too many friends here. Let's have a look at this again.
They got through cleanly all right there, and that was the contact just as they were coming out of turn 4.
Now watch Wilson get cleaned up by Lowndes. Watch this. Bang! Look at the impact there. The Lowndes, just a victim in all that, drove them through a wall of smoke. Let's have a look at it from the cherry picker. Contact between the Pertec Ford and the better electrical car. Ambrose sneaks past, but Lowndes cannot see a thing.
Todd Kelly got through okay. By the time that Marcus Ambrose was back, Craig Lowndes was off with a lot of damage to the left-hand side.
This is the damage. This is where Marcus Ambrose contacted the back of the better electrical Ford. Safety car is going to come onto the circuit. Caution lights are on. What a shattering end after a great start. There's Lowndes. He's had probably bitten his tongue as well in that impact. Because he really, really took the brunt of that.
Yep, bit his tongue. He's just telling the guys there on the side of the track, I bit my tongue. It's amazing, isn't it? So much damage. But thankfully, Craig Lowndes is okay. Marcus Ambrose is in the pits. His car's in a whole lot of trouble. Mark Scaife is our race leader at the moment. The upshot is that there's 20 laps to go and a lot of positions to work out who's going where. Race 2 of round 2. The V8 Supercar Championship continues. There's a hell of a long way to go in this one. At the halfway mark of race 2 in round 2, we've got another restart, and Mark Skaife leads him out with Todd Kelly and Paul Radisich, but major drama for Marcus Ambrose. The winner of race 1 is out of race 2 at the moment. As a result of that damage between the crash involving him and Max Wilson, Wilson is gone, Craig Lowndes is also gone, and Marcus Ambrose is still stuck in pit lane. That's the end of his day. No power steering in that car. He tried to restart while we were in the break, and unfortunately they wouldn't let him go. Got to the end of pit lane, and officials said, you're not going anywhere. They've had to push him back. So 100 points from race 1 for Marcus Ambrose, 0 points for race 2.
Yep, what a sad end. They really put the pressure on Holden Racing Team in race 1. They let off the hook a bit in race 2. Apparently he popped a seal out of the steering rack as a result of that incident. And, the car wouldn't hold hydraulic fluid. Let's have a look at the incident again. And this is the impact that did all the damage. Look at that, doesn't look that heavy, but it's enough to do the damage to the steering rack that's put him out of the race. Max Wilson, look at Lowndes, he's got nowhere to go. Crunch. Just drove into a cloud of smoke.
I reckon if Max just stayed on the brake pedal there, everyone would have avoided him, but anyway.
This is the view of the back of Mark Skaife's car at this turn, turn 4. Keep your eyes on Marcus Ambrose as he spins around the better electrical Ford. And then as Mark Skaife pulls away from the damage, the carnage just gets worse.
Let's have a look at this again from another angle. Got it all covered here. You can see he just bumped the back bumper there. Ambrose took advantage of the fact that Wilson was a bit offline. He came back on the Pertec Ford. Big impact, and an even bigger one coming here. Look at that. And we saw Craig Lowndes even bit his tongue. So hard was the impact. Now Mark Skaife is not under the sort of pressure he had in race 1, and he's starting to pump it out at 1:35.79. His first flying lap, 19 of 34. He's got Todd Kelly in the Kmart Racing Commodore up behind him. He poses the closest threat at the moment.
Give you some idea of just how keen Marcus Ambrose was to get back out there. He refused to jump out of the car, even though the team had told him that everything was pretty much over. And Jason Bargwanna, he was prepared to go back out there without power steering, which to the layman doesn't sound like much, but on a circuit like this, a maximum speed circuit, I mean, you know, you have to have muscles of steel to push that thing around.
Well, that's right. I mean, these cars have run a lot of caster on the front of the car, and it obviously puts a lot of load on the steering wheel. The power steering obviously makes it a lot easier to drive the car, but believe me, if you had no power steering, it should be hard work, especially around Phillip Island, let alone any other racetrack. But wouldn't have liked to have a steering failure anywhere around this joint, that's for sure.
That top 10's interesting, isn't it? Skaife, Kelly, Radisich, Seaton's done well. He's got his way up into 6th as a result of that stop. And Baird up to 11th in the Team Brock Commodore. So it's a good, promising start for that new team. But David Bernard is just peeling off here. Another Ford bites the dust. Number 9 will be serving a pit lane penalty plus an additional 10 seconds stationary. He has to stop in his pit for a yellow flag infringement. So David Bernard, in the second of the Stone Brothers Fords, is out of the action as well.
David's not at all happy about this either. I can tell you he's been on the radio to Campbell and the boys at Stone Brothers Racing. He can't understand it. It's happened during the safety car period, and they're bringing him in now.
He was 8th when he went in there, and what a weird weekend it's turned out to be for Stone Brothers Racing. They were just having so much fun in race 1, weren't they, with Marcus Ambrose collecting a race win and David Bernard finishing in the top 6. Now you've got Ambrose out of it as Rick Kelly comes on the inside of Glenn Seaton.
He's done an outstanding job this weekend, young Rick Kelly, driving for the Holden Young Lions team. That puts him right up into 6th place now, running in the top 6 as a result of taking Seaton under brakes into Honda turn. The man who dominated the Australian Drivers' Championship last year, having his first season of V8 Supercars, showing a lot of speed.
What about the performance too of Cameron McConville from the Lansvale Smash Repairs? Qualified 31st, also had to go through pre-qualifying, finished 12th in race 1, and currently he's up into position 4. There he is, car number 3, the only Sydney-based V8 supercar team. The best he's ever done here at Phillip Island, 23rd a couple of years ago. He got 33rd position in Adelaide, and it was all sorts of trouble for Lansvale Smash Repairs. This is great to see. Cameron McConville, the 27-year-old, doing a terrific job at Phillip Island. In front of him is the only Ford at the front at the moment, Paul Radisich, in 3rd position. Todd Kelly's in front, and Mark Skaife's at the pointy end of the field.
35.10 for Scaife. His lap times are pretty consistent at the moment. Paul Wheel's been making great progress as well. Keep in mind the K&J Thermal car started 26th in this one. He's now up to 8th. So he's inside the top 10. Good result by the K&J Thermal team, particularly in their pit strategy.
Glenn Seaton goes around the southern loop in position number 7. Currently leads them. He's got Todd Kelly behind him. Paul Radisich in position number 3. Cameron McConville is in 4th. Rick Kelly is in 5th. Longhurst 6th. Seaton 7th. Paul Wheel 8th. You've got Garth Tander in 9th and Stephen Johnson in 10th position. But right now, the 4-time series champ is once again doing the business out in front in clear road.
Carbon copy of last year, really, isn't it? A point situation, coming out really hard. And he's really had good fortune today as well with the problems that befell Marcus Ambrose. Ambrose really took the fight up to Holden Racing Team today. Pity he went out of race 2. It's taken a lot of the spectacle out of the second heat.
Well, realistically, Mark, nobody could catch Mark Scaife as far as points go at the end of this day, but they could have put a lot of pressure on him heading into round 3. What's going to happen now if it stays the way that it is? Mark Scaife will probably walk away with another 180 points. That'll take him to 580 points. So
after only 2 rounds.
Not maximum points, but only 20 shy of it.
Down here with Max Wilson. Tell us what happened in that incident. Looked like you spun the car around and smoked it up champ car style.
No, really, I mean, that was after the accident. Actually, what happened was Scaife overtook me. We don't turn before, and I was right behind him, and Ambrose was right behind me, and then, you know, the hairpin, I was behind Scaife, and when I was inside the turn already, Ambrose just came and hit me on my door, and he spun me off, and it was really stupid of him because, you know, my race is done, and his race is done. You know, I'm surprised as a guy that has been around for such a long time can do such a stupid thing as he did, but, you know, still a long way to go, and I'll be here, and better days are going to come for us.
Hey, keep smiling, mate. It'll happen. Don't worry.
No worries.
Well, he's a crowd favourite. There's no doubt about that, Max Wilson. You heard Rusty talk about champ cars. Well, the Kart World Series moves along to round 2. That's tomorrow night after sports tonight. Jimmy Vasser has pole position. Cristiano D'Amato, the winner of round 1 in Monterey, is actually on a 3-race winning streak, a carryover from last season. Can he make it 4 straight? And of course, round 3 of the V8 Supercars. Sunday, the 26th of April. Check your local guides for the times there. It's a hell of a weekend. We've got a twilight race and then 2 races on the Sunday. So the twilight race on the Saturday night. And log on to www.rpmlive.tv. Billy Woods will take you through everything that's been happening in motorsport and that's coming up. It's also a very good place to check out your telecast times if you've got any questions about your local guide. You're taking a look at Cameron McConville as he brings it up over Lukey Heights. In front of him is Paul Radisich. Got it a little bit loose as he bear down hard on the brakes. It's an incredible turn, that one. You're coming over there, you feel as though you're going to take off into the sky, and then before you know it, the thing's sticking to the floor and you're jumping on the brakes. Feels like your head's going to go through the windscreen. The PlayStation 2 race score has Mark Scaife 5.6 seconds clear of Todd Kelly. Paul Radisich in 3rd. That's the battle we're looking at now between him and Cameron McConville. Kelly and then Longhurst. You've got Seaton in 7th. Tander in 8th. Paul Wheel looking at a top 10 position in his brand new Ford Falcon. Jason Richards has rejoined the fight on your screen in the Team Kiwi car.
Yeah, it's great to see Cameron McConville in such a competitive situation with the Lansvale Racing Team. And this man too, Rick Kelly. Boy, isn't he making an impression early in his V8 Supercar career. He's running in 5th position. Really enjoying his time in V8 Supercars. There's big raps on this man from the Holden Racing Team operation. Second of the Kelly boys to join the Holden Racing Team stable. His brother Todd, of course, driving for the Kmart team, which all comes under that TWR Australia umbrella. And Rick is showing all the potential, and then some, for a big future in V8s.
Just hope we need another Kelly.
The Kelly gang.
Look at this group. Longhurst, Tander and Seaton. 2 Bathurst winners in there, and one who would certainly love to get a Bathurst belt championship under his belt. So car number 66, 34 and 5th. It's position 6th through to 8th. And a good turnaround for Glenn Seaton as well. He's certainly hasn't had it all his own way after that sizable shunt at Adelaide. Tander comes through on the inside and gets hold of Tony Longhurst. Glenn Seaton racing in an old car. The car that he smashed to smithereens at the Clipsal 500 was slowly and surely being pieced back together. So he's gone back to the car that he had pre-Bathurst in 2001.
Yeah, it's been tough for Glenn Seaton going back to a single car operation. Anyone with a two-car team will tell you when you go testing, and they're very restricted in the number of test days they've got. A single car operation is very much restricted compared to a two-car, because a two-car team you can virtually double the amount of testing data you get through. When you're all alone with one car, your work rate in a single day of testing is halved. Here's Jason Bright, best time 1:34.87, and that's the fastest lap of the race so far. Bright fighting his way back up into the top 10 after serving that penalty early. He's now up to 9th. Stephen Johnson in 10th. Car 17, so there's 2 Shell Fords in the top 10. And their attitude is, well, we may not have the car dialed in as well as we like, but we've just got to get out there and get as many points as we can. Paul Wheel doing well in 11th. They did a good pit stop strategy to jump him up the queue. And look at this, Team Brock. New arrival, unveiled at Adelaide, and they're doing a very good job early in the piece. They've got one of the most talented engineers in the country behind this team, Ron Harrop, the man who really turned Holden Racing Team's fortunes around in the mid-90s when they really were the butt of a lot of jokes back then. Ron got a hold of them, gave us some real engineering direction and discipline and got them pointed in the right direction. Now he's on board with Team Brock. You'd have to say, Jason Bargwanna, that's a pretty ominous sign. He is a very talented engineer. Well,
I mean, you see in Australian touring car racing over the years, there's been some prominent names, and certainly Brock is without a doubt one of them, but you've got to put the name Harrop behind that as well. So, I mean, that combination, as well as the team, Rod Nash, who owns most of that team there, obviously, as well, I would expect to see them do quite well over the next 12 months and be a strong force over the next few years.
Mark Scaife, race leader. It's out to 7 seconds now. The lead over Todd Kelly. He's doing it easy. 1:35.10 his fastest lap from this race, but he's been consistently in the 1:35s. So this car obviously using its tyres very well.
Just looking at the times there, guys. I mean, Garth's done a 35.9, which is the only other car out in the field, apart from the 2 red HRT cars in the 35s. I mean, the guys have been working very hard to try and get a good setup. It appears it's obviously not working too bad at the moment. He's moved all the way up to 6th position, so it proves that these Holden Racing Team cars aren't invincible. We'll keep working away at it, and I'm sure that Marcus Ambrose has proved today, as well as what we're trying to do, that we can actually beat these guys. So it won't be long, and hopefully we can have some different winners all the time and make it a lot more interesting.
Certainly a lot of optimism out there when you walk up and down pit lane. I mean, a lot of people are screaming about the Holden Racing Team domination, but you talk to the blokes in the garage, they say, well, no, we'll get them. They're pretty determined.
Well, there's no doubt, and they're probably the most organised at the start of the year, and it shows at the moment.
Real impressive drive today.
Take a look at this. Mark Scaife wins race 2 and round 2 at Phillip Island. He was so far ahead of the field in race 2. So Mark Scaife in car number 1 comes across first. Todd Kelly will take 2nd position in race 2 and also 2nd position overall, and Paul Radicic is the first of the Ford Falcons. A great finish from Cameron McConville. He finishes in 4th position. You've got Rick Kelly, Garth Tander, Tony Longhurst coming across. Glenn Seaton has muscled his way all the way up into 8th position after qualifying for this event in 27th. Jeff Grech from HRT celebrates another victory for Mark Scaife. Had a chat to him before this race, asked him just how do you learn how to drive around a circuit like this, which is so fast. He said he used to sit up on the hills at Lukey and watch Jim Richards come flying through, and that's how he learned. He had a stopwatch in one hand, and he had his hand over his mouth as Richards went flying across the top around the back. Well, he's learnt well. The defending champion, series champion and defending champion here at Phillip Island has done it again. The Shell Helix race score for race 2 has Scaife, Kelly and Radicic filling out the top 3 positions. What a performance from Cameron McConville. Kelly, Tander, Longhurst and Seaton make it the top 8. We'll go through the board for you. Jason Bright had his troubles in pit lane. Stephen Johnson finishes 10th. Paul Wheel in 11th position. Craig Baird in 12th. Neil Crompton, the only one of the 00 Motorsport Ford Falcons to survive this weekend, in 13th.